They say that when a man's sports team wins, his testosterone levels go up. When they lose, it can go down. So now you're taking that man who's naturally already wired to see things in a win-lose situation, and you're putting a woman above him in the household. It's going to feel like a lot of tiny little losses over time, right? If you notice, a lot of times men, when they first get married, they have a certain level of vitality, right? A certain level of confidence. And then over time, you tend to see them start to slow down a lot, right? Meaning they become a little bit more passive, right? And as they become more passive, his wife gets less attracted to him. They become less attractive. Women are not naturally attracted to passivity, right? So just on that alone, that's one of the reasons I think the man should be the head of his family, so that he can maintain that sense of duty, right? Because men naturally need to have a sense of duty. My duty here is this. When they don't have that duty, they become complacent, and women are not attracted to complacency. They're just not attracted to it. Hey everyone, my name is Melissa Rochelle, and I'm a relationship coach, and I'm joined today by my husband, Coach Clark.
Hi everyone. We discuss relationship topics in the Black community, and today we're going to jump right into it. Recently, I was in a group chat with a bunch of guys, and we were discussing one of the opinions was that women should never lead, and my question was, well, what about women? Well, sorry, what about men who were raised by single mothers? Because that seems to be pretty prevalent in the Black community, both men and women. And those boys grew up to become men. So who raised them? And did those single moms raise them to become men? And there seemed to be some disconnect there, saying that a woman can never teach a boy how to become a man, and vice versa. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I think it's absurd. Like, adults raise children. It's that simple. Whether it's a male or a female, it literally makes zero difference.
Okay.
So I don't even know what to say about that. It's just so absurd that I don't have anything to say about it. It just is. It's just one of those things that's not even worth discussing.
Wow. Okay.
Because adults raise children. It's like, what is there to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm trying to get the male perspective here, because, and the thing is, I asked, I in the room, I was, trying to get a better understanding, and I was like, hey, okay, well, define in your definition, because I don't think what a man is or what a leader is just one solid definition for both. I think it's subjective, depending on the culture, depending on the community, and so on and so forth. Right? I mean, just making up some crap, some tribes, you're not a man until you like kill a bear or something. I don't know. Just make something up. Right? And so I was asking, hey, okay, in your opinion, what is a man? And there was never really a definition about it. It was
because there isn't one.
Well, there's definitely going to be pushback to that, which I hope there is, because then I'm going to look at something like, well, you should know what a man is. Like, okay, cool. So I have my definition of what a man is, but that may not be some other man's definition of what a man is, and so on and so forth. And so that's where I think I said the disconnect is. But again, the notion that a woman cannot teach her son how to become a man. I just ask all of these, like, would most men consider LeBron James a man and a leader? Was his father involved in his life? So then who raised that boy to become a man? And then I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of cognitive dissonance there. Who raised that boy to become a man? And not only did he become a man, he became a man, a father, at this point, a loyal husband, business. Everyone knows who LeBron James is. So then my question would be to them is, would you consider LeBron James a man? And if you do, who raised him? And does that mean that his mom knew how to turn a boy into a man or not? So that's the question there. And then vice versa, men can't teach women how to become women either. A lot of these podcasts on YouTube, especially the red pill stuff, it's literally like, all about telling women how they're supposed to dress, how they're supposed to act, how they're supposed to be with a man, and they need to blah, 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 which is like telling women how to be women, who are already women, by the way. Right? And so I was thinking, I remember I was talking to you about this last night. It's almost as if I think if your objective is to be in a relationship and married, I think it's, it varies person to person. But I would also think that wouldn't a man teach the woman that he's with how to be a wife to him? And wouldn't she teach him how to be a husband to her? And I know I'm conflating what it is to be a man as opposed to what it is to be a husband. But in my opinion, being that we're Christian, whatever, in my opinion, leading your household and being married and having kids and taking care of them, I think that's like the very baseline of what true manhood is. Do I think manhood is being able to punch a wall and I don't know, and shoot a gun and I don't know, lift weights? No, because that doesn't really sustain life. It can help defend, with your strength and everything, but sustain life, not. You being able to, raise a family, select a suitable mate, and raise those children to become positive members of society as well. I think that's like the very baseline of what manhood is. That's like my definition. But again, I'm still trying to get other people's definition. But either way, it's like I said, it's a subject you hear a lot of, like, man, like on Twitter a lot, you'll see a lot of comments like, you can tell he was raised by a single mother. You can tell he was raised by a single mother. And they don't diss the dads for not being there. It's like more of a dig at the mothers. And 9 out of 10 of those dudes were raised, who were saying you could tell you're a single mother, were raised by single mothers. And so, like I said, I'm just using athletes as an example because, that's stereotypically Black men know who the athletes are. So again, I'm using LeBron James to explain that dynamic to me. Somebody who was raised by a mother, grew up to be that guy, who is responsible for turning that guy into who he is. Does that make sense? Or
raising a child just means raising them to maturity, right? Getting them to a mature age to where they can take care of themselves, right? Which part of that can a woman not do for a boy? Like it's just so absurd. I don't even want to talk about it because it's just such an absurd thing to even say, right? Because we're basically saying that if unfortunately a boy's father dies young, he has no chances of becoming a man. That's absurd. Yeah. It's a really ridiculous thing to say. Yeah. And the pushback would be, well, the mother can go find a father figure for him. Where? Fatherfigures.com. She's going to go interview men to find a father figure for her child. They just say these ridiculous things that don't even make sense in reality, right? Yeah. It's absolutely absurd. Yeah. And as to what you said, that they don't define what it means to be a man. So, okay. When you first go through a coaching program, one of the first things they teach you is you're going to have clients, literally have clients who hire you to coach them, and they will still resist setting goals. And the reason they'll still resist setting goals is because if they set a goal and they don't meet that goal, they feel like a failure. So even though they hired you, they don't want to make the goals concrete because if I don't meet this goal, then I'm going to feel like a failure. As far as what you said about men not wanting to define what it means to be a man, that's what it makes me think about. If I don't tell you what my definition is of being a man, you won't know whether I failed, whether or not I lived up to that standard. Right? that comes from a place of a lack of confidence, right? So anyone who's confident in how they feel about something will directly, clearly tell you how they view it, right?
Yeah. Because
they're not afraid of whether or not you see whether they do or don't live up to that standard, right?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. I feel so annoyed right now, if I'm honest. I just want to be honest with you. I feel annoyed because we say so much nonsense now. If they said a woman can't raise a husband, right? Then I could say, okay, maybe I can kind of understand what that means. And the only reason I can say I can understand what that means is because I see the difference in the dynamic with our two sons and how they interact with me and how they interact with you. So you bring something very different to their lives than I do, right? So that's about fatherhood. That's being a father, and that's being a husband. Has nothing to do with just being male, with what's between your legs. It's just absurd.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I hear you, and I could also hear your frustration.
I'm frustrated because it's annoying.
Yeah.
Because these are the same men who will not okay. They don't want to say what it means to be. I'm just so annoyed.
Yeah. I mean, again, you'll hear the common rhetoric, provide, protect.
Oh God.
Okay, we get it. And so then again, I ask, who provided and protected? Again, I'm going to keep using LeBron James for a reason, because it's like billionaire athlete, everyone knows him, blah, 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 right? And from the looks of it, he knows how to be a husband, he knows how to be a father, he knows how to be a man, from my opinion. Maybe other guys think he's not. I don't know, because they have like 5 women or something. I'm just making something up. That was a joke. But it's like, again, the thing is, I don't want, see, you know what, just because I know how this is going to go, and I tend to kind of think of what the other side is going to say, and not other side because I am a male, I am a guy, right? I want to say it the other way. Okay. A man raising a daughter, right? My best friend's married, 2-parent household, but he's raising a daughter. Now, I always hear in hip hop songs, dudes talking about, like, isn't Biggie, right? Give my daughter this college plan so she don't need no man, right? Right? And if you were to ask the same dudes who are saying whatever they're saying about women can't lead, the real fathers are like working their butts off to make sure that their daughters have a way of not having to depend on one or a man, right? Which is contradictory to the other things they say, but that's another story. What am I trying to say here? What you said about like, can a woman raise her son to become a husband? Well, that's interesting to me, because I think that, because again, when men want advice, when women want advice on what should they buy their boyfriend for their birthday, or what should they do for their husband for Valentine's Day, or, you know, how do you treat a man about whatever, right? What do men tell women? Don't go asking your friends about how to treat a man, because they're going to take their subjective point of views, which men too, but they're women, and project that onto what they think you should be doing. Meanwhile, your guy could be complete opposite to that. From my understanding, women will go to their brothers. If dad's there, their dads, their uncles. They'll go to male podcast or whatever to figure out, you know, what do men want, right? Like vice versa. Last time I checked, men, who are typically the ones chasing women, want to know what women want. And to know what women want, but listening to what men say women want, isn't that contradictory to men being able to tell women how they're, you know, men able to tell girls how to become women, and women being able to tell men how to become men, per se? Does that make sense, what I just said there? Or?
Everything you're saying makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm just irritated at the topic. I'm just being honest with you. I'm irritated at the topic because it's just nonsense. Yeah. Like, saying a woman can't raise a man is saying that the millions of men who are raised by single moms are not men. It's absurd. Like, there's just absurd. Like we were saying before, as far as being able to raise a man to be, can a woman raise a man to be a good father, or can a woman raise a man to be a good husband? Maybe not, but neither can a single man. Like a single father can't do it either. And the reason is because the way that our children see how to become a good quote unquote wife or become a good husband is through watching the dynamic between their parents.
So what you're saying is,
right?
a single mom can raise a male child to become a man. A single father can raise a male child to become a man, but neither can, in a healthy way, teach them how to become a healthy mate, per se, or a healthy husband.
Because it's through the dynamic. So I'm going to give an example, right? Our two sons, something that I've noticed with them, and it's so cute to me, right? But what I've noticed is when we're all going to the car together, especially the little one, he gets offended if I open my own door. That doesn't mean he always opens my door, right? It doesn't mean that, because most of the time I just walk to the car and open my door. But there are a lot of times where he will go to open the door and then I'll go to open it as well. And he's like, Mom, what are you doing? Right? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, babe. I'm sorry. And then he'll open the door and he'll wait for me to sit down. He'll close the door and then he'll go, get in the car. There's a woman, a single mom or a single father could say to their son, hey, when you're going to the car with a woman, you go and open her door first. You can say it, but that's not as powerful as watching it happen.
Kids learn through action.
They learn through, it's like we were talking about in the last episode about modeling behavior, right? So because they see you open my door for me, they are just kind of, in a way, through osmosis, they're just absorbing these behaviors unconsciously. It's not really like a conscious thing they're doing, right? It's just what you do. Like, this is what a man does. This is how a man behaves. So I believe that neither a single man who doesn't have a woman in the house or a single woman who doesn't have a man in the house can raise a good husband. I don't think they can, because it's through watching the dynamic between the mom and the dad, right? That they learn how to be a quote unquote good husband, right? That's where it comes from. As far as being a good father goes, I can give a good example there too. Do you remember that time we were in the gym and we were doing the leg press, and Jerry was with us in the gym, and he watched you push the leg press all the way to max, and he was in awe, right? Watching you do that. And then he tried to do it and he could barely push it. I mean, he was like 8, right? He could barely push it. And then when I went and I did the same thing, I pushed it to max. And he looked at me, he goes, that's not fair. And that was surprising to me, because he doesn't see two adults. He sees mom as an adult, he's respectful, he does what he's supposed to do and all of that. But he sees who he's going to become through you. He doesn't see who he's going to become through me, right? So when he said that's not fair, at first, the feminist in me was kind of like, I don't want to raise a little sexist here, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it allowed me to see the power of fatherhood. Yeah, because I'm mom, right? That's who I am. When he's thinking about power and protection and all of that, he's seeing that through his father. He's not seeing that through me, right? Does that make sense? So I just feel like I'm agitated, and I'm sure you're picking up on it.
Yeah.
But it's because there's just so much nonsense that people are saying that is harming our community. It just really frustrates me. They regurgitate the same nonsensical talking points over and over and over and never have anything of value to say, and it's annoying. Right? It's annoying.
Yeah, there's something you said there. I'm trying to go back to about, so he sees himself through me.
Absolutely, 100% yes.
So I was raised by a single mom, and I think I know you were as well. So we're going to get back to learning how to, can people raised by single parents be good spouses? And we both know the answer that off top, no, it requires work. The amount of work that we're still doing, right? So what you said about our youngest seeing him through me, I then ask all the boys who didn't have a dad or father figure to see themselves through. Who did they see themselves through?
They just made it up. I think so it's probably, I don't want to say amalgam because it's a stupid word, but I don't have another word for it. I think it's just like a compilation of little, maybe bits of identity they pick up from other men and try and create a sense of self out of that. That may be what it is. But when we were talking about, can a single mom raise a man? I absolutely do believe that your mom raised a man. Now, as far as could she have raised you to know how to be a good husband? Not really, because your father wasn't in the house. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's two very different things.
Do you remember in a previous episode, you asked me a question about where did I get the idea of like what manhood is? And and remember I was saying, I don't through TV and then I say, because I feel like this is about to get deeper now, because this is a little bit therapeutic for me, because again, this is a little bit therapeutic for me because, again, I was raised by a single mother. And I'm actually starting to think now, where did I get the idea of whatever a man is supposed to be? Because I never saw it modeled. I've seen it modeled little by an uncle here and so on and so forth. And maybe, my friends' fathers and so on and so forth. But in terms of like a day-to-day, I don't know where I got it from. So then it makes me think about if little boys are you want to be secure in your manhood, something you don't even know what is, because again, you didn't see it modeled. So then what do? You look at TV. You look at the idealization or the caricature of whatever a guy is. You look to the streets. You look to whoever has, because stereotypically, a man has muscles, a man has money, a man has women, and a man has respect of other men. That's what a man is. Like, I mean, from the base, right? So then it makes me think about all the young men out there who may not have all those things or any of those things, and how much pain they're in. And do their elders, the men who are repeating these statements about a woman can't raise, and who were raised by single mothers, it makes me think about, do they know how much more, is it re-traumatizing? How much more pain they're adding on, how much more salt they're adding onto the wound of these young men who already have that issue and trying to identify themselves, which then makes me think about how many of these young men try harder to,
prove their manhood, basically.
I'm going to join a gang. I'm going to F, women, I don't want to say the B word, but you know what I'm trying to say, right? And it's like, it's almost like that Kendrick Lamar song. You don't have to try so hard. You don't have to lie to kick it. And then, well, I'm going to curse now. He's like, ask me where the hoe's at to impress me. Right. Things like that. Like, it's like a stereotypical, especially black men. I'm not talking about other, cultures. I'm talking about, like typical black culture. I'm not to all, we're not a monolith, but typical black culture, where the hoe's at, you have money and da-da-da-da and so on and so forth. There's like this thing you're supposed to be. So, if you're a black man and you're not 6'1", 6'2", and you don't have muscles and you don't have a 15-inch, what, and you don't have a bunch of women and you don't have a bunch of money and then you're nothing. And then so these boys grow up not having these things. And I can't imagine how you can still love yourself and feel confident in yourself, especially whenever you turn on some of these content creators, they're reminding you how crappy you are and how unmanly you are. Does that add on to, the black on black violence? Does that add on to the prison population going? Does that add on to not valuing your life as much? Like, for you to not be afraid to go to prison, you don't value your life, so why would you value somebody else's? I know I'm getting deeper into it, but it's just, you know what I mean? But
I understand the link you're making. I can't answer that because I really don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to calm my irritation down a little bit.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And I know it's going to come across as male bashing or whatever, because we're mainly talking about men, but where does it start? It starts about women. You should never follow a woman's lead. So for me, I'm like, okay, if I should never follow a woman's lead, that means if this is true, then I should be the leader. And the example that always uses about CEOs and, you know, blah, 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 and generals and blah, blah, blah. Well, if an army general says, strike here, and he strikes there, and he was wrong, and he ends up getting a bunch of his peoples killed, they're not going to blame the soldier for it. It's the army general that needs to take the responsibility for it. So why am I talking to the men, and why am I asking about men? Well, if we are supposed to be heads of household, if we're supposed to be leaders and everything else, shouldn't leaders be more interested in taking more accountability and trying to solve a problem as opposed to passing it off onto someone else, you know, or other people who aren't leaders, who they don't think should be leaders, which is the opposite sex. Am I making any sense there? Or does that make sense? Yeah,
it makes sense.
I know you're irritated.
I'm irritated. Yeah. And the reason I'm irritated is because I personally believe that the man should be head of household, should lead his family. It's a personal thing. Now that's different from my coaching work, because in my coaching work, it's not my job to force my worldview or my value system onto my clients. It's about helping my clients reach the vision that they have for their own life, through their own worldview, through their own values. But the reason why I personally get irritated is because I personally do believe that the man should be, and I have reasons for that, right?
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Can you define what that means for him to be head of household? What does that mean?
It's a little complex, so I don't want to get into it right now, because it's a little complex, but we can definitely get into that in another episode, maybe, because it's or maybe this one, but we'll see. But so the reason why I get so irritated when I hear men talk about the topic of leading and you never let a woman lead, and is because I personally do believe that men should be the leader of their household. But what men are doing currently is like this, right? If I come to you and I say, oh my God, this plate of food is disgusting. You want to buy a plate? It's $10. Are you going to buy it? You're not going to buy it. I just told you this food is nasty as hell, right? And I'm trying to sell it to you. So the reason I get irritated when I hear men talk about, certain men talk about, you know, that men should lead their household, but they're making the idea disgusting. And they're expecting women to buy into it, right? They don't understand that what they're trying to sell tastes nasty, and women don't want it, right? But taking the time to really recognize that what you're trying to sell isn't being bought, and you're still trying to sell the same nasty food without realizing you're not selling any place whatsoever is ridiculous. And they just keep saying it over and over and over. And I'm like, are you paying attention to the results that you're getting, or are you not even paying attention to it? Because if you're calling yourself a leader and you're not even paying attention to results, whether you're getting results or not, you're far from a leader, because a leader cares about results, right?
That's the main thing they care about. Whatever their purpose is.
Right.
Your purpose is to get a wife, his purpose is to, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah. Are you paying attention to the results that you're getting? It's annoying, right? It's absolutely frustrating, because there's just something's not clicking. Something's just not clicking.
So then I'm thinking, okay, so your definition, I know you don't want to go into that, because I think it will help, because a lot of the complaints amongst Black men is that, you know, Black women don't let them lead.
Yeah.
You know, Black women are, you know, twisting their necks, and, you know, they're too busy being independent and boss bees and blah, 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 whatever. So then, well, I asked another question. One of them said yes, one of them said no. I asked, okay, so if women shouldn't lead, so is leadership a male birthright? Like, meaning you're born male, automatically you're a leader. One of them said no, and one of them said yes. So then I'm going back to the question. Okay. People, I forgot what the saying goes, but people decide to go work at places and stay working there, typically because of how leadership treats them.
Yeah, like the expression says, people don't quit their jobs; they quit their boss.
That's what I was saying.
Right?
That's the term.
Yeah.
So then I ask, okay, because we hear complaints about women are divorcing, are the main ones divorcing. Well, if women can't lead, and men are supposed to be the leaders, and the women are quitting their job, is it still the employee? So a company has crazy amount of turnover, like you were saying in the previous video. It's just all the employees that were trash. It's just always the employee's fault. Because me, like, again, by the way, I had the same line of thinking until it's kind of like, unless, your poop stinks, right? I'm trying to keep this PG, right? Your poop stinks too, unless you think you're perfect and you're not, right? So then instead of thinking about, well, again, like I said in the previous video, there's always going to be whataboutisms. What about her? And how come I'm taking all the blame? And how come it's all on me? Again, I don't think it should be. But according to what I typically hear the definition of leadership is, which means it's not a woman, the company's success, the company's failure is always going to be on the leader of the company, the head of the company. Yet, the company's success is going to be viewed on the leader, but also everyone else. That's the, what's what I'm looking for? The gift and the curse of leadership. So if people are saying that males should be the ones who lead and women are quitting their jobs, and leaders from leaders of CEOs don't become from my understanding, they take a lot of classes on how to deal with different people and different personalities and leadership classes. And I'm assuming, shouldn't we, the ones who we are supposed to be the leaders, be willing to do the same? Or again, is it just a birthright? And if it's a birthright, I would then ask, can if let's say your mom, you were raised by a single mother, that means you're not a man. If you're raised by a single mother and she meets a new gentleman, can that gentleman come into that house and just automatically be like, I'm leading, you do as I mean, again, whatever the definition is, because I still don't know what the consensus definition is to lead.
Yeah, because they're not going to define it.
Yeah, you said that, yeah.
Right? The man who's going to define it is going to be a man who's a leader type of man. He'll define it. He'll say straight up, this is what I think, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because he knows he's going to live up to that standard. Right? Yeah. It's the man who knows he can't live up to that standard, or thinks, because we're talking about beliefs here, right? Who thinks he can't live up to that standard, who's going to fear defining what that means to him, right? As far as what you said about the majority of divorces being filed by women, that's what we were just talking about. They're not paying attention to their results. And they keep regurgitating the same nasty talking points that are pushing the women away, that are making the women not want to follow them. And they're not paying attention to the results that they are getting. Yeah. Right? They're not paying attention to it. Now, I'm going to try to answer as concisely as I can, answer what you, about what my definition of a leader is. But it just has so many nuances that it's a little hard for me to do that right now. Yeah. But I'm going to try my best. So when two people get together and they decide that they want to be married, and this is really important, okay? When two people get together and they decide that they are going to get married, what they do first is they need to create a vision for their life together in partnership. They create a vision together for their life, where they want their life to go, where they want to live.
Pushback I was here from that is, it should be his vision that she should follow. That's
absurd.
But then again, it's gonna look like I'm doing I'm male bashing or self-hating, whatever. But then my question to them is, the daughters that you have, do you want her to just be like, submit? You know what I mean? Like, is that what you want? Like, is that how you are currently raising your daughter? Your daughter who's going to, is that your mother? Your mother, like I said, she meets a guy, and is that what it is? That your mother, let's say, has her career. I mean, again, she raised you, whatever she does for a living. She meets a guy, and the guy says, bump whatever you're doing before. My vision is we're going to do this. And she just goes, yes, sir. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Like, submit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Submit some more.
It's just,
I'm asking, is this how you would want your mother being treated? Is this how you'd want your sister being treated? Is this how you'd want your daughter to be? Is this how you're raising? Are you raising your daughter to be crazy submissive? Like you think getting your passport and going to whatever countries, whatever it is, how you expect women to act. Is this how you are raising? Well, being that you can't raise women, I guess not. But if this how you are, would you be raising your daughter? Is this how you'd want your sister to be treated? Is this how you'd want your mother to be treated? That's the question I have, because the answer I think is no.
Because the talking points are absurd, and they do not reside in the reality that we are living in. They are absurd. Okay. So to think that a woman would willingly say, F the vision I have for my life, I'm going to just follow yours, and think she's going to happily buy into it is absurd. Okay. We have enough proof to show you guys that it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Stop trying to sell that nasty plate of food. Women don't want it.
I did cut you off though. You're talking about couples have to come together and create a vision together. That's what
when they decide that they're going to get married, they create the vision for their life together. Okay. That includes how they want to interact with extended family members. That includes where they want to live. That includes work-life balance. That includes vacations, whatever. They create a vision together in partnership for their life. Okay. Now, I'm saying this because when I talk about the man being the leader, what I mean is once that vision that they co-created for their lives together is set and it's ready to go, it is a man's responsibility to make sure that that family, that couple gets to that result. Okay? Tell me if you're following what I'm saying, if it's clear. Okay.
So once so that's what makes him the head of household.
Bingo. Because he becomes responsible for that family, that couple, even if they don't have children, that couple getting to the vision that they co-created together. But they co-created that vision together. But he is responsible, right? If he's the leader, that's what it is. That means you want to be responsible. That's what it means, right?
Yes.
I mean,
so they create a vision together, and so he's basically the chairman or founder of this union, and he kind of like, what does he delegate and give her instructions?
No, okay. It's not that. Okay. I get a lot of pushback from women when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyways, okay? And that's why I said it's really complex for me to explain right now what I mean when I say I believe a man should lead, because it has a lot of different moving parts. So it's really hard to just explain it like off bat, okay? But one of them is that he is responsible for the results, right, of that couple, that family. They have that vision that they co-created together, and he is responsible to make sure that that couple or that family gets to that result. So that's one part of it. The second part of it, the second reason I think that the man should be the head of household or the leader is because men have something called testosterone, right? And every time I say this to women, I get a lot of pushback, right? But women are naturally attracted to confident men. They're attracted to men who are decisive. They're attracted to men who get things done, right? These things are linked in a way to testosterone, right? Which is why men are more impulsive, because this hormone just makes you guys do all types of, right? Okay. Because of testosterone, which women have a little bit of it too, but it's by far higher in men, right? Because of that, in order for women to have a husband that she remains attracted to long term, she has to make sure she's not constantly doing things that deplete those testosterone levels. And because men are naturally, like we were talking about in our last episode, men are just competitive by nature, right? They tend to see things in a very win-lose type of way. So when you're in a relationship with a woman, women don't really see things in that same way. Women are much more cooperative by nature than they are competitive. Okay. That being said, when you're in a relationship with a man, part of the compromise is recognizing that he is a man and you are a woman, right? It's kind of like how they say that when a man's sports team wins, his testosterone levels go up. When they lose, it can go down. So now you're taking that man who's naturally already wired to see things in a win-lose situation, and you're putting a woman above him in the household. It's going to feel like a lot of tiny little losses over time, right? That's why a lot of times, if you notice, a lot of times men, when they first get married, they have a certain level of vitality, right? A certain level of confidence. And then over time, you tend to see them start to slow down a lot, right? Meaning they become a little bit more passive, right? And as they become more passive, his wife gets less attracted to him. They become less attractive. Women are not naturally attracted to passivity, right? So just on that alone, that's one of the reasons I think the man should be the head of his family, so that he can maintain that sense of duty, I guess, for lack of a better word, right? Because men naturally need to have a sense of duty. My duty here is this. When they don't have that duty, they become complacent, and women are not attracted to complacency. They're just not attracted to it.
So then this is where, okay. I'm trying to figure out the best way to ask us this. What's the best way to ask this? Okay. So I understood everything you just said. But in today's society, where I forgot what movie it was, like, women can do things now.
Yeah. Women could always do things. Yeah. They were just subjugated before, but women could always do things.
Right. The woman who has her doctorate or her PhD or her master's or whatever career she has, right? Because what the guy in the group chat told me is that a woman should never lead. And it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, is it sounds like for the relationship purpose, you agree with that.
I told you, I personally believe, not that she should never lead, because that's the word never is annoying.
Right.
Because there are certain aspects of their life where she should take the lead.
So then, then they have the vision. It's his job for that to create a master plan, per se.
It's not his job to create a master plan. Okay. Maybe I misunderstood that.
Yeah. It's his job. Well, it's his job to help to come up with a game plan to help. What's the word I'm looking for? Bring that vision to fruition.
Yeah, and this is the thing too, because in every decision he makes, when they already have that vision for their life, he can easily explain to his wife why he made that decision. This decision keeps us moving toward our vision, keeps us moving toward our goal. Or this decision will move us further away from our goal. Does that make sense?
It does. But then how does, so then I'm trying to imagine this as a very, like, for example, with you, we have a vision and I'm trying to execute it, but you are a very strong personality. You're very opinionated. You disagree.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the leader. Do as I say.
No.
So then how does that work?
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. How does that work?
The way that it works.
When does a woman decide I'm going to follow his lead? When is it okay for her to interject her opinion? Is her interjecting her opinion not being cooperative?
No.
And all this other stuff.
It's always okay for her to state her opinion. As a matter of fact, she should always state her opinion. Because when a woman goes silent, that's when the man should worry. Okay? Because he doesn't know what's going on inside of her. And that's very dangerous for a relationship. So she should always state her opinion. She should always state what she's thinking.
Right.
Always.
But okay. but should the leader follow her opinions?
No, it's not. Well, if yes,
because I'm again as a guy, I know I'm black and white thinking it. I know I'm like win or lose. I'm doing it right now, but I feel like it's a legit question because the type of man I am, I don't want to be with a pushover woman who's just like do as I say.
Even though they won't admit it, most don't.
I know. I don't want. So then, I think we should do this. Okay. And she just yes everything.
Yeah.
One, I don't think men want that. But then again, so when you disagree, if I'm supposed to lead and I think this is the best way about it, what's the line where I'm just not considering, I considered it, but I'm still going to do what I want anyway. I still think we're going to do what, I still think it's best to do what I think is right for our family, despite I considered your opinion. You know what I mean? Because I can consider anything.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So then if I don't do it, then what does that mean?
Okay. So there's a few things there.
You get my question, right?
I absolutely understand your question. There's a few things there. So remember in our last episode, we were talking about the CEO, each person in a business has their responsibilities and what they're supposed to do, right? So when a boss is trying to make a decision, let's say he's trying to make a decision on marketing, right? He has marketers that work for him, right? If he's trying to make a decision about marketing, he's not going to go, what do I think? Because then why did he even hire them? What are they there for? They're there to give him sound advice, right? And then he makes the final decision. We're going to go with this or we're going to go with that. But he's still bringing them in, right? Otherwise, he wouldn't have to hire them. He could do everything himself. He recognizes he doesn't know everything, which is why he hires people. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Okay, so I'm going to say follow me. So follow me here for
You're not supposed to lead.
for a second, right? Okay, so when we're talking about a couple, a husband and a wife in a relationship together, they both should always state their opinions when they're discussing what decisions they're going to make. Always. What I'm saying is it is the leader's responsibility to make sure that the decision that he ends up making gets them to whatever goal that they have. Because I also always tell couples that at least twice a year they should get together and talk and see, okay, where are we at here? Where's our lives? Let's talk about it, right? And if the decisions that he's made up to that point, when they go do their review, they didn't get those results, his stock is going to drop in her eyes, right?
Yeah.
So he better make sure he knows how to make good decisions to get them to their goals. Because all that's going to happen is if he's not making good decisions to get them to those goals, his stock is going to drop in her eyes. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but it sounds like there's a lot of pressure on him to have everything correct. So therefore, the pushback is going to be she needs to listen. No,
because we are trying to because we're trying to get to a result. If you hire a personal trainer and you lose no weight, you are not going to keep going back. Because the results that personal trainer was supposed to get you, he didn't get it for you. So if you are the leader of this household which means you have to be responsible for our results, if you're not getting us to the results, like the goals that we have set, why do you think you shouldn't be fired? What is it in your mind that tells you that you shouldn't be fired even though you're not getting any results? Who does that?
I understand.
So yes, it's a really tough responsibility, which is why every time I hear men saying they should lead, I'm like, are you certain you know what that means? Are you certain you fully grasp what it means to lead something? Or are you just walking around just saying whatever? Do you really truly know what that means? I don't think they do. Because the same men who say they should lead will still say things like what about her? Well, it's like, do you know what it means to lead anything? Do you even understand what that means? Do you understand the responsibility that comes with that? Do you understand the pressure that comes along with that? Do you understand the weight that comes along with that? Do you fully, truly grasp what that means? If you don't want the responsibility, you don't want the pressure, you don't want the weight, then sit back, fall back.
And let her lead. But then letting her lead is going to get him negative results.
Where did you get that from?
Is it, well, if he lets her lead,
yeah,
she's going to find him less attractive.
Like, it's highly likely, yes.
Which is going to get him negative results.
Now I get what you mean. Yeah. I thought you were talking about something else.
No, not like, oh, she can't do anything. Because like I said, LeBron James' mom.
Yeah.
I get it. But what I'm saying is, so then
he can learn. So what happens is, there are a lot of men who have a fixed mindset, right? They think that there's a lot of things that can't be learned. There's almost nothing that can't be learned, right? Skills can be learned. You go and you learn. You learn how to be a better leader, right?
I mean, I hear you, but I'm about to whataboutism. I think women can have a fixed mindset too.
That's why I said people. Like people. Yeah, okay. Like I'm just seeing a lot of men that when I talk to them, I hear the fixed mindset. Anyone can have a fixed mindset. Yeah. No, anyone can. If it came across like I was saying only men do, that's not what I meant. No, that's not what I meant.
Because again, like I said, depending on which side of the community, like, men need to make this much and If he doesn't do that, then he's nothing. And,
that I don't agree with either, because I think women in general, we tend to confuse a man's income with what his worth is. And they're two different things. There's a difference between the inherent worth that he was born with and what capitalism says we should value, right? So as women, we do tend to confuse the two. And there's good reason for that. Like, a lot of times men are like, oh, women care about your money, But how many men do you think would say that they would not have wanted their father to make a lot of money when they were kids? Because that would have meant they would have been able to live in a better house, a better neighborhood, have more shoes, have better clothes, have more extracurricular activities. They would have more, take better vacations. There's no man that would say that they would not have wanted their father to make more money or their mother to make more money. Because they would have wanted to have, a better life. So when women are looking at income, unfortunately, right, it's because even though she's not consciously thinking about that, we're just kind of wired that way to want our offspring to live a good life, right?
I think that's really what it's all about.
That's all that. Like, listen, women didn't create money, right? We have. It's like a lot of times I feel like men create these systems and then get mad at women for the systems, right? So we didn't create this concept, right? But unfortunately, that's the society that we live in. In order for you to live and be able to eat food and have a roof over your head and have money matters, unfortunately, right? So women care about it for a good reason. Now, I still think women are wrong when they're focused on the man's income, because what matters is not the man's income. What matters is total household income, right? So I don't think they're right for saying, oh, he has to make a certain amount versus viewing it as I want us to make a certain amount so that we can have a better standard of living, right? So that's just a different way of viewing it, because a lot of women are missing out on really, really great men, really, really great fathers for income, right? And because your income is just tied to whatever the time that you're living in, whatever that time says is a marketable skill, right? And that changes, right? It fluctuates, right? That doesn't mean that the things that the man is naturally good at don't have any worth, don't have any value. That doesn't mean that at all. It's just maybe he's not living in a time where the strength that he naturally has maybe it's just not marketable in the time that he's living in, right? But that doesn't mean that those things that he has inside of him can't be taught to his children, because there could be a time where when they have a son, that in the son's time, that then what those strengths that father passed on to a son is marketable, right? It just depends on the time that you're living in. Right. So I don't think that men should be judged on their income. I think that, so I'm going to get a little bit off topic here. You hear a lot, they say women should never marry potential, right? And I agree with that 100%. I don't think women should ever marry potential. I think women should marry vision. There's a difference between the two, right? Potential means I see what you can do, but right now your behavior and your actions are not aligned with what I see that you can do. Tell me if that made sense. Marrying vision means you're not there yet, but your actions and your current behaviors in the present are slowly taking the steps to get you to that vision.
It's congruent to getting you.
It's congruent to getting you to that vision. So that's the difference between marrying vision and marrying potential. Does that make sense?
It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.